Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over the basics of the Blood DK rotation in Cata. At the time of this video, the Blood DK sim is in its very early stages, so some optimizations may be found once that's progressed more. The first thing to know is that runes of the same type are now essentially on a charge system and no longer refresh independently. For example, if you have 2 blood runes on cooldown, the second one to go on cooldown won't start recharging until the first one comes off cooldown. The runes that haven't yet started recharging are called fully depleted runes. Note that since this is essentially a charge system, you'll pretty much always want to have one of each rune on cooldown, but you don't lose anything by delaying your use of this second rune. It will often make sense to delay the use of a Death Strike until you can heal with it if you already have a Frost and Unholy rune on cooldown. Sometimes you'll even want to keep both of your Frost and Unholy runes off cooldown right before some big bursts so you can double Death Strike. Death Strike and Blood Tap will also give you Death Runes, which can be used as any type of rune, but for rune recharging purposes, they still count as the base rune that became the Death Rune. At level 81, you'll get an ability called Outbreak that applies both Frost Fever and Blood Plague to the target, and it's only on a 30-second cooldown for blood. Since diseases now last 21 seconds baseline, you can put 2 points into the Epidemic talent to get 29-second diseases or 3 points for 33-second diseases. I generally just go 2 points because the 1 second of disease uptime loss doesn't seem to be worth a talent point. This means that you rarely need to cast Icy Touch or Plague Strike anymore. You'll pretty much always just apply diseases through Outbreak. Your diseases will do damage, increase the damage of Heart Strike and Blood Boil, and apply a 20% attack speed and 10% physical damage debuff to the target. Heart Strike does way more damage now and hits up to 3 total targets. This is the main thing you'll spend your blood runes on. The others are Rune Tap for healing or Pestilence and Blood Boil for AoE. Your Unholy and Frost runes will mainly be used for Death Strike, which does good single target damage baseline, and even more with the Death Strike glyph that increases its damage based on your current runic power. It also heals for 20% of the damage you've taken in the last 5 seconds, or 7% of your max HP, whichever is higher. On top of that, our mastery also gives us a physical absorb shield equal to a percentage of our Death Strike healing. Death Strike is the single most important ability for Blood DKs. Death and Decay now cost just 1 Unholy rune, so that's generally the only thing you'll spend Unholy runes on other than Death Strike, but just for AoE. Rune Strike is now an instant attack instead of on next hit, and it has a 45% chance to activate a random fully depleted rune. It also can be cast at any time when in Blood Presence. By keeping 1 blood rune off cooldown, you can guarantee that Frost and Unholy runes are the only ones that can be refreshed by Rune Strike, allowing you to use more Death Strikes. The single target opener hasn't been completely optimized yet, but we'll have a better idea of that as the sim progresses. Currently for my single target opener, I'm delaying Outbreak and Dancing Rune Weapon until I can get hit to cap Vengeance so I can snapshot them with high AP. This opener will vary a bit based on whether I'm entering the fight with enough runic power to cast Dancing Rune Weapon quickly or need to generate some, but it'll look like this. First I taunt for Fixate, then Death Strike for Snap Threat and to get rune CDs rolling, then Heart Strike / Death Strike if more runic power is needed to cast Dancing Rune Weapon, then cast Dancing Rune Weapon plus Outbreak when Vengeance is capped. There are almost certainly going to be some optimizations made to this opener, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how I'm currently approaching it. I'll cover those optimizations in a future video when they come about. Once you're past the opener, the single target rotation basically boils down to this. Keep your diseases up by using Outbreak, keep at least 1 of every rune on CD. You can briefly save all of your Unholy and Frost runes if you know burst damage is about to come, so you can double Death Strike after it. Spend Frost, Unholy, and Death runes on Death Strike. Spend Blood runes on Heart Strike or Rune Tap, but keep 1 Blood rune off cooldown until just before the other comes off cooldown. Typically try to sit at high runic power to benefit from Glyph of Death Strike. Rune Strike when you have fully depleted runes to try to activate them and to avoid overcapping runic power. The AOE opener will generally look like this. Cast D&D from range and position it so the mobs have to travel through it as they run to you and meet them inside it. Heart Strike for Snap Threat on smaller packs or Blood Boil on larger packs. Use Dancing Rune Weapon if it's up, plus Outbreak, plus Pestilence once you have high Vengeance. Past the opener, the AOE rotation basically boils down to this. Keep diseases up with Outbreak and Pestilence. Keep at least 1 of every rune on CD. Spend an Unholy rune on Death and Decay when it's up. Spend Frost and Unholy runes on Death Strike. Spend Blood runes on Heart Strike. Spend Blood runes on Blood Boil if it's a larger group. Spend Death runes on Heart Strike or Blood Boil for damage, and Death Strike for healing depending on what is needed. Keep 1 Blood Rune off CD when rolling for rune refreshes with Rune Strike if you need more healing, and keep 1 Unholy and Frost Rune off CD when rolling if you want more damage if the fully depleted runes are not death runes. Alright, hopefully that helps you out with your Cata Blood DK. Like I've said, the sim is in the early stages, so as that progresses, we'll probably find some better ways of doing things. When that time comes, I'll put any updates in the pinned comment, so check for that. If the changes end up being really significant, then I'll just scrap this video and make a whole new one. If you want to support me, you can help me out by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.